Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here with Gil Hova from Formal Ferret Games and looking at the Networks, which is out in the UK.
Well, it's shipping to Kickstarter backers. I'm selling it here at Origins and at UK Games Expo. Backers will get the game in about, I'd say, 4 weeks or so, and then it'll be available in retail in August. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, this is a game for 1 to 5 players. You've set up the solo mode.
That's right.
To give a demonstration of that.
Absolutely. Okay. So the general rundown is you're running a television network. You start the game with a little bit of money. So in the solo game, you start the game with $5 million. Don't spend it all in one place. And you also have 3 terrible public access TV shows to start the game with. So on your turn, you're always going to get 1 action. So one of the main actions of the game is developing a TV show. So for example, I might want to develop this show over here, The Wacky TSA Agent, okay? So develop this show. It's going to cost me $1 million, so here I'm spending $1 million. And now you can see the show wants to be on at 9 p.m. And I have a player board over here, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and 10 p.m. are the time slots. So for this show, I want to put it on at 9 p.m.
Player board.
Player board.
All right. Yeah, we'll move some of these aside for the moment.
Okay.
So we can zoom properly.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
So 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and 10 p.m. Let me just move these guys over here. That might work. Okay. So I want to put the show on at 9 p.m. So I've got this other show, Unlocking Your Cat's Psychic Potential. So that one doesn't work quite so well. So I'm going to cancel it. Put the new show on here. And now the show's in its proper time slot. The show also requires a star. I must have a star on this show. But fortunately, I start the game with a star and an ad in my green room. These are my starting stars because I'm the U62 television network. So I'm going to put my talent show winner as the Wacky TSA Agent, and that means I just sort of slide it underneath over here. Then I take this timing cube, put it on the top row, and now I'm all set. So what this means, and I'm going to move this up over here so so that we can zoom in.
We can actually just put it down.
Oh, okay, great. Perfect. Okay. So what this means is at the end of the season, once all is said and done, this show is going to score 8 viewers, okay, because I have it on at the proper time slot. Had I had it on at 8 or 10 p.m., it would only score 5 viewers. The star is going to get an extra viewer, and this show that I canceled, now that it's in reruns, that's going to get an extra viewer in syndication. So that's 10 total viewers I would get at the end of the season from this show. But then, at the end of the season, the show is going to age. So the cube's going to drop down 1 row, and next season it's going to score 6 + 1. And in season 3, things get bad. Okay, so that's one of the challenges in the game is to be managing your TV shows just like that.
And each turn is a season?
No, you get multiple turns in a season. So I'm going to sort of
seem like you can never catch up. Everything's going downhill quickly.
No, it's not quite that bad. So I'm going to sort of reset over here so we can get our display back here. And that's in my green room over here. Okay, so in the solo, so this is where in the full game, if you're playing with other players, other people would take their turn. But in the solo game, we don't have that. So we have the deck of these network cards, and I'll tell you what these do in a moment, but the big thing is I'm going to flip a card. Let me just do as an example. I'm going to flip this card over here. I'm going to ignore what it says at the top, but I'm going to look over here what it says at the bottom. And it's got this icon of a show on the bottom. So that means this leftmost show is going to go away. And that's in the solo game only. So in the solo game, after every turn, the game takes something away. And it's between 1 and 3 things that the game takes away. Okay? So now it's our turn again, but now we no longer have this show, which is too bad because I kind of wanted that show. So instead, I'm going to get this show, Cyber Slug versus Mecha Earthworm, which is another $1 million. Now this show, I'm getting this one because this one requires an ad. I must put an ad on this show instead of a star. So I have this ad over here in my green room. And the thing about this show is it's going to cost $1 million at the end of the season, in addition to the $1 million I spent picking it up. But the ad offsets that at the end of the season. It gets me $1 million, so that's even. So you can see how this starts to work. You know, you're managing your TV network, you've got your stars and ads, and you've got shows that you want to put on. So there's some other interesting things in the game also, because now my green room's empty. I can't get either of these shows because they require either a star or an ad. But that's why you've got stars and ads available for you to purchase. Oh, and I just took another action, so I'm going to flip, and I'm going to sort of cheat a little bit, and I'm going to say we're going to get rid of this star. Oh, that's too bad. And we're going to get rid of this ad. So those are out of the game also because we flipped that.
Okay.
So now I want to get one of these stars or ads over here. And stars, as you can imagine, work better on certain TV shows. Like the adorable, let's start with the public television legend. So this guy is a little bit better than my starting star, and he costs $1 million. Now if I were to buy him, he goes in my green room. If I were to sign him, excuse me. The adorable hipster is a lot more expensive, and as you can see, she's actually going to cost money herself, so she's quite expensive, but she gets you a ton of viewers. She's really, really good. Now, I'm a little disappointed because this star that was out here would have been really good for me. The reason for that is this. He's a sci-fi star. He wants to be on a sci-fi show. So he's got the sci-fi symbol over here, and here's a sci-fi symbol over here. So if I put him on a sci-fi show, he's going to be really, really good. But let's say I instead put him, just for argument's sake, let's say I put him on the sitcom, sci-fi show sitcom, he's not as good, so I've got to rotate him, and he scores me fewer viewers. Okay. So there's a lot of management of your stars in the game also. That's the game in a nutshell. In the solo game, you keep on flipping cards every time, flipping these network cards and revealing these symbols every time you do an action. Now, at some point, you're going to flip a network card that's got one of these circles, dark circles in the bottom right. And when you reveal those, then you're going to take one of these cubes over here and fill up one of those boxes. What are those boxes? These boxes are the amount of money you get when you pass, when you drop out of the round. So at some point, you're going to say, okay, there's nothing else I can do in the season, so I'm going to drop out and I'm going to collect money. But the longer you go, the less money you're likely to get. Okay? Now there's 4 cubes here because this $5 million box is always available. But if these 4 cubes are out and only $5 million space is available, and you flip one of these cards that tell you have to place a cube, or let's say, for argument's sake, you flipped one of these cards that tells you that you have to get rid of a star, but there are no more stars available. In any of those cases, what you're going to do is you're going to take one of these cubes over here and you're going to drop it into the turn order track here. Now, turn order track in a 2 to 5 player game tracks turn order, but in the solo game, it's got special meaning. You're going to drop these cubes in every time you can't fulfill one of those burn requests. You know, you can't burn one of those cards. If the 5th cube ever drops in, you're immediately losing the game. Game's over. Okay. So there's a little bit of risk there because your investors will come back to call if you're not careful.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that really gives the solo game its juice is that you're not just necessarily playing 5 seasons. You got to be on your guard the whole game through because if you're not careful and you take too long in a season, the game's going to end early.
Okay. So you can't necessarily run a market out
in the solo game, yes. In the solo game, yes. Now, when you're playing multiplayer, when you're playing 2 or more players, you don't have this mechanism that drops cubes in the turn order track, but you have other players who are going to be
taking the stuff
you want. Exactly. In the solo game, the win condition is you make it to the end of the 5th season with at least 265 viewers. Whereas, obviously, the other games, you want to have the most viewers. Okay. So most viewers is the win condition.
Okay. Have a number of other boards? Are these just for the other player boards?
Yeah. So we've got some other player boards, and these are just different networks. They're symmetrical in this version of the game. I'm looking at making an expansion that has variable player powers, which might be kind of interesting. I'm working on that right now. And this right board over here is interesting. Yeah. This right board over here is interesting because we only play with this side on the first season. At the end of the first season, we flip it over because your scores are going to be in the low 200s, so this needs to wrap around at 100. Okay. But now you see, if you drop out and this space is available, you're going to get $10 million when you drop out, or 5 viewers. And remember, viewers are victory points. But if this is covered up, then if you take this, you get $8 million and 3 viewers. But the longer you wait, the less money you get, and it's much more extreme for the rest of the game. If you wait too long, you only get $2 million. And dropping is one of the main ways you get money in the game. So it's that's really a big part of the game.
Okay. All right.
That's most of the game. There's a couple of other odds and ends, but that's like a pretty good quick overview of how the game plays, especially how the solo game plays. It scales really well, 1 to 5 players. It plays equally well at all player counts, which I'm really happy with.
Okay. I think I had other questions, other than, of course, I don't know if you can talk about the art.
Oh, yes, let's talk about the art. Absolutely. So the illustrator...
Oh, actually, maybe I should put it down here.
Yeah. So the illustrator is Travis Kinchy, and the graphic design is Heiko Gunther. Heiko did Tesla versus Edison and
Glory to Rome, Black Box.
Glory to Rome, Black Box, The New Science. He did graphic design in all those games.
Right.
So there's a funny story here in that I knew I wanted someone like Heiko to work on my game, and I'm ashamed to say I actually spent a few minutes trying to figure out graphic designers who would do a job like Heiko before I realized that I could just contact Heiko, and thankfully he said yes.
Okay.
And there's an interesting story there also. It turns out that he and the illustrator, Travis Kinchy, had worked on a card game version of Traumfabrik.
Yes,
AKA
Silver Screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Oh, yes, that was the name of it. Yeah, Silver
Cambridge
Screen.
Games Factory is supposed to be doing
Exactly.
that. And it's potentially, from what I've heard, it's signed with someone else but not announced
Oh,
yet.
that's okay. So they had this art style for that, and they were very disappointed when the project fell through because they really liked the art style. Then here I come knocking on the door saying, I've got this game about running a TV network, and Heiko was very excited because he could do this art style with Travis. So here it is, a year and a half later. Actually, it's a year later after I contacted Heiko to do the graphic design, and I couldn't be happier with the look of the game.
That's right.
He and Travis did an amazing job.
And still out before Silver Screen. So good.
Yes.
No matter how long you wait, it might still be before that. So.
Yeah.
Right.
I have no doubt that Silver Screen is going to be very good. And I hope that Heiko and Travis get to work on that because their art for it was really adorable. I really liked it.
Well, it sounds like you have an expansion in mind, or at least ideas for how to do it. So maybe they get to go.
Exactly.
They'll get to do more of it anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Very much so.
There you go. The networks.
The networks. Great. Thanks so much, Eric.
Yeah, you're welcome.